Yo, what's up, guys? It's Fortnite slash Roblox League here, or Fortnite in Apex, rather. I changed my YouTube username a few months ago. But anyways, today I'm here to predict the 2023 NFL playoffs. So this is my fourth time doing it. My first one was in 2020. So my previous the three teams I predicted to win the Super Bowl, they didn't even make it past the divisional round. So I predicted the Saints to win Super Bowl 55. They lost to the eventual champion Buccaneers. I predicted the Packers to win it all, but then they lost to the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. And I predicted the Buffalo Bills to win last year's Super Bowl, but then then they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. But hopefully this year I can guess the correct Super Bowl winner. So as you can tell, I haven't really posted anything on or done any streams on YouTube ever since like April or something. Yeah, that's because YouTube stopped working for me on the PlayStation, so I had to go to Twitch, and I used Twitch up until I moved into college. My last Twitch stream, I believe, was on the 22nd. Yeah, and yeah, to be honest, I'm not really into Apex and Fortnite anymore. I still admire them, but yeah, as again, I started college and I've been used to not playing them, so I've only played Nintendo Switch. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So the first, crap, I made a mistake. I'll fix that later. Yeah, so the first game I'm gonna predict is the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this should be a pretty good game. These two teams did not meet in the regular season, but yeah, I expect this to be a lopsided game. So going to each team, the Bills are coming off a pretty nice run to end their season. They won their last 5 games. To eventually win the AFC East. And to be honest, they were kind of lucky because had they lost to the Chiefs, and they probably should have lost to the Chiefs had Kadarius Toney not lined up offside, they would have lost out on the division. But hey, I guess they got away with it, and yeah, they're division champs. And yeah, their offense hasn't looked sharp the last 3 weeks for Buffalo. They only scored 24 points against a Justin Herbert-less Chargers. But yeah, it required them a game-winning drive for them to win that game. They only scored 2 offensive touchdowns against my New England Patriots in Week 17. Their other touchdown came on on the defense, on pick 6, and then they scored 2 field goals, and they eventually won 27-21. And then, of course, they beat Miami 21-14, but as again, they only scored 2 touchdowns on offense, the only other one being a punt return. And Josh Allen threw 2 interceptions against Miami last week. And going to Pittsburgh, yeah, their offense has been a mess this year. Particularly in like the first half of the season when they had to deal with Matt Canada as their OC. And luckily he was fired after week 11, I think. It was right after they lost to the Cleveland Browns. So yeah, eventually Kenny Pickett got hurt, and then they had to deal with Mason Rudolph. Who the offense has kind of looked a little better with him. But yeah, going to this game, yeah, and also for the Steelers defense, T.J. Watt's been ruled out with torn MCL, I think. So he probably won't turn if the Steelers were to make like the AFC Championship game. And as for the Bills defense, their defense has looked better with Sean McDermott calling the plays. So if I had to predict who would win this game, I don't trust Mason Rudolph, or Rudolph the Red Zone Reindeer rather, to uh to do any do much against this pretty good Bills defense. Um, I mean the state and on the flip side, the Bills haven't been sharp on offense. Oh, in fact, they did, and I forgot to mention they did lose two. There are two players. Two of their key players are out. Gabe Davis, the receiver, and Taylor Rapp, their safety. And as for the Bills, even though their offense hasn't been sharp the last few weeks, I think they'll do just enough to give Buffalo the win offensively. And once again, I did make a mistake on that. So I'm gonna go Buffalo in this one. And then the next game I'm gonna go to is the Chiefs and the Dolphins. These two teams met earlier in the season. That game was in Germany, and the Chiefs won that game 24-21. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I read for that game. That game is tomorrow night. As of the day of this recording, Friday night. And I looked at the temperatures, and the temperatures is gonna be like a high of 5 degrees and a low of like -7. So it's gonna be a really cold game for Miami. And I looked it up, and Miami hasn't played a lot of cold games for obvious reasons. I mean, obviously if they were in Buffalo and stuff, but fun fact, the Dolphins are like, I looked this up the other day on Microsoft Bing, and it said that the Dolphins are like 1-5 in games that are below 20 degrees, and they've never played a game below 10 degrees. Yeah, that's a fact. So that's really gonna. So the weather's gonna be a huge factor for Miami. And going to these teams, the Chiefs, they haven't been as dynamic this year. That's in large part because how bad the receiving core outside of Travis Kelce is. Though Travis Kelce himself has had some drops this year, and he couldn't reach 1,000 yards this year. But the only reason why the Chiefs are good is because of their defense. Their defense apparently has been better than their offense. In fact, the Chiefs' defense was second total in the league. And the Chiefs are pretty much a man team. And going to the Miami Dolphins, Miami's done well this year. That could be highlighted by their 70-point outing against Denver earlier in the year. But then the very next week, they only scored 20 points, and they allowed 48 points to the Buffalo Bills. And speaking of the Buffalo Bills, they lost to them last week to miss out on the division. And Miami hasn't really done well against playoff caliber teams. Their only other win against a pretty good team was against Dallas, who also tends to struggle on the road. But Dallas finished below 500 on the road. What was I gonna say? Yeah, and Miami's only loss. So Miami finished 11-6, and their only loss to a non-playoff team was the Tennessee Titans, which happened on my birthday. And they choked that game. And they could have. The Dolphins could have won the AFC East against Baltimore, but Baltimore humiliated them in Week 17, and it put them in a tough spot, and fortunately they could not overcome it. When these two teams met, Steve Spagnuolo blitzed a lot, and Tyreek Hill couldn't really put up big numbers against that in that game when they played in Germany. And so if I had to predict who would win this game, the really cold weather is gonna play a huge role in this game, and Miami's not used to playing in really cold conditions, and even though the Chiefs haven't been dynamic on offense in terms of passing, they can do really good on the ground, especially with Isaiah Pacheco. So I think I expect this to be a low scoring game. I expect a lot of running plays given the weather, the circumstances. So I'm gonna give the Chiefs this win. The next game we're gonna go to is the Texans and the Browns. So these two teams met in earlier in the regular season. Um, the the Browns actually won this game, 36-22, and this was without C.J. Stroud on the Texans playing. And yeah, Amari Cooper on the receiver for the Browns went off in this game. Yeah. The Browns have somewhat been a surprise this year, at least to me. Even when Deshaun Watson went down with a season-ending injury, and I can't believe that Joe Flacco is still playing like he's in his prime. Like, he's looked really good with the Browns, even at 38 years old. And on the flip side, C.J. Stroud has also did me to do that. Yeah, so if you see me doing stuff like that, yeah, it's been my mistake. But yeah, going back to the Houston Texans, yeah, C.J. Stroud's had a really good rookie year, and he could potentially win Offensive Rookie of the Year, which I don't know if he will, because Puka Nacua on the Rams has been really good as a receiver for the Rams, which I'll get into once I get to the Rams and Lions. But yeah, anyway, C.J. Stroud's having a really good year, but what concerns me for Houston is that they've had a lot of injuries, particularly to receivers like Tank Dell. I don't know who else on the receivers got hurt. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the Houston Texans this year, so. But yeah, as obviously I do know that they've been playing well, especially C.J. Stroud. The Texans' defense has been decent, to say the least. So yeah. The fun fact: the Texans' defense has allowed the least amount of passing TDs this year. They've only allowed 17 passing TDs, but their defense as a rank. Hold on, I have my computer in front of me. Yeah, their defense as a rank. Yeah, their defense as a rank is actually mid, so I guess they're not that bad on defense. Yeah, and they do have their front seven's been pretty good. They have like Will Anderson Jr. and stuff. So yeah, so if I had to predict this game, I expect this game to be close because as again the first time they played each other, C.J. Stroud did not play because he was suffering a concussion, so that he suffered the previous week against the Jets. So, and and going to the Browns defense, that Browns defense has finished number 1 in terms of yards allowed with only 270 yards a game on average. I could go either way with this game, but I think I'm gonna go with the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, because I feel like the Texans are a pretty young team. Like, they have C.J. Stroud as their QB, even though he's been playing lights out. They did have Tank Dell as a receiver, but I think his season's over. They have Will Anderson Jr. among other young defenses. They have Derek Stingley Jr., who's only in his second year, I think. So the Texans are a pretty young team, and Joe Flacco has a lot more playoff experience. Obviously, in fact, he did win a Super Bowl with the Ravens 11 years ago. So. Yeah, and that Browns defense is really good. And last week for the Texans only put up like 13 points, I think. Let me see how many points they put up against the Colts. Oh no, they only put up 23 points. So okay, but either way, I C.J. Stroud can throw like a touchdown or two against this Cleveland defense, but their pass rush led by like Myles Garrett and stuff is gonna be a problem for him. So as again, I have the Browns winning this game, but it will be close. And then the next game we're gonna go to is the Cowboys and the Packers. So a history that should be a really fun game. Those are two storied franchises. These two teams do have some memorable playoff games. Like, they had the Ice Bowl back in like 1967, where the Packers quarterback Bart Starr scored like a game-winning touchdown with only like a few seconds left, and they were down by 3. And the Packers eventually won that game. And I think that would lead the Packers to their second Super Bowl, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the past two playoff games for both these teams. 2014, the controversial Dez Bryant catch. Did he catch it? We don't know, but that allowed the Packers to advance to the NFC Championship game. And then in 2016, that game, which I remember that really well. With only like 12 seconds left, Aaron Rodgers makes an unbelievable play where he throws it to the sideline to one of their tight ends, and then the Packers win the game in overtime in advance to the NFC Championship game. But yeah, but this time with and also the Packers have beaten the Cowboys every single time in the playoffs, but this year I don't know because will Jordan Love become a Hall of Famer? We don't know. I mean, he's looked good this year, but yeah, he's gonna have to go up against the defense featuring Micah Parsons. I forget all these other dudes on defense. I know Adigizua, all those guys. So yeah, he's gonna have to face this really tough Cowboys defense. Oh, and also not to mention, the Cowboys have been undefeated at home this year. They've been lights out. So yeah, that's gonna be another problem for Green Bay. And obviously, this is Jordan Love's very first playoffs. So it was nice that he was able to lead this team to the playoffs in his first full year starting. And yeah, the Cowboys' offense has been really good. Dak Prescott's been having close to an MVP-like season. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have Pollard. They have Brandon Cooks, who's also looked nice as a number 2 receiver. Yeah, and yeah, this Packers defense is young, so it's going to be a problem for them, especially that the Packers are on the road. So, yeah, so if I had to predict this game, I think I'll go Dallas. I think Dallas will win by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. But yeah. Next game we're going to go to is the Rams and the Lions. This is a game I'm really looking forward to. It's the battle of 2 QBs who are swapped. Jared Goff, who was traded from the Rams to the Lions, and then Matthew Stafford, who was traded from the Lions to the Rams. And that should be a fun game, and that's on Sunday Night Football. Going to these 2 teams, the Lions have looked nice this year. Their defense, which is young, has looked solid. Let me look at their defensive rankings on my computer real quick. Defensive leaders. So the Lions are somewhat in the bottom half. In defense, yards allowed. So yeah, that's kind of concerning, especially going up against a Rams offense, which is gonna be like supercharged. As again, Puka Nacua just broke. Yeah, I was talking about Puka Nacua earlier. He ended up breaking the record for a rookie for receptions and receiving yards. So, yeah, and Cooper Kupp is well rested. Kyren Williams, Matthew Stafford, especially with Matthew Stafford saying he's the bad guy coming to Detroit. Yeah, and for the Lions, the Lions have a pretty bad track record of playoffs. They've only won 1 playoff game in their entire in the Super Bowl era, which is not great. And the Rams who started the season slow managed to get it on track. Let me go to the Rams schedule. Yeah, so the Rams won their last 4 games to end the season. Yeah, so the Rams actually won 7 of their last 8 games to end the season, with their 1 loss coming to the Baltimore Ravens in overtime. So yeah, I love the Rams' momentum, especially even their meaningless game last week against San Fran. Yeah, as for the Lions have been banged up a bit. Samuel Porta got injured last week. So that's good, and he's been a really good tight end for them. That's gonna be a concern for the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff hasn't been consistent in the playoffs when he was in LA. I mean, though he's having a pretty good season this year, he's struggled in the playoffs with the Rams, and that's why he was traded even after the Rams were in the playoffs in 2020. So yeah, if I had to predict this game, I'm actually gonna go with an upset here. I'm gonna go with the Rams taking. I'm gonna go with Matthew Stafford and his Rams going to Stafford's old home, taking down the Lions team that Matthew Stafford, who led the Rams to the playoffs when he was in Detroit like 2 or 3 times, couldn't win a game. I think he's gonna break their hearts again. And then next up is the Buccaneers and the Eagles. So this should be a pretty good game. Oh crap. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so this should be a pretty good game. These two teams met in the regular season with the Eagles winning 25-11. And ironically enough, that game was on Monday Night Football, same as this game. That game will also be on Monday Night Football. So yeah, going to these teams, the Eagles have concerned me. The Eagles have been really concerning. They had a really strong start to their season. They started 10-1 with their lone loss coming to the Jets, and then they just lost 5 of their last 6 games. Yeah, the Eagles have been a concern for me. So like I said, they lost 6 games. 4 of their losses came against non-playoff teams. And then 2 of their losses, which came against playoff teams like the Cowboys and 49ers, were all blowout losses. Losing to the 49ers 42-19, and then losing to the Dallas Cowboys 33-13. Yeah, kind of concerning. And their defense hasn't looked sharp during this back half of the season, especially in the passing game. The Eagles have the second worst passing defense. They finished with their second worst passing defense in the league, which is not great because they're going against a Tampa offense, which has looked pretty good during the second half of the season. Baker Mayfield has begun to find his stride with Tampa and could eventually be with this team for the long run. Who knows? Yeah, speaking of Tampa Bay, they won 5 of their last 6 games to end the year, with their lone loss coming in Week 17 against the Saints. So speaking of Tampa Bay's offense, their offense hasn't looked sharp the past couple of weeks. As again, they had that really slow start to the Saints where they just could not overcome it. They didn't score touchdowns until late in the fourth quarter. And they didn't score a single touchdown last week against Carolina. They scored 3 field goals, but that was against a pretty bad Carolina Panthers team that finished 2-15. So yeah, so if I had to predict this game, this is gonna be tough. I know the Eagles still have studs and all, but I feel like Baker Mayfield, as again, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Rashad White, all those guys on offense, they've began to find their stride, and this should be an easy opportunity for Tampa Bay in the offense, because the Eagles defense has again been struggling. Well, the Eagles have been struggling during the second half of the season. In fact, the other day I was watching Ninja, and he talked about how the Eagles offense has revolved around scoring 3 yards every play, just so that when it gets a 4th and 1, they can do the tush push. And according to Ninja, so I was watching this Tuesday or Wednesday morning. He says that that offense is become frustrating to the point that AJ Brown's not been happy in the locker room. And speaking of AJ Brown, AJ Brown was banged up against the Giants last week, and so is Jalen Hurts with that dislocated finger. But I think both should be able to play. But even if they play, they're going up against a pretty good Tampa defense, and a defense that loves to blitz. Let me look at their defense ranking. So the Tampa Bay defense in terms of yards per game allowed hasn't been sharp, but they've looked pretty good. And and given that Philly could not do anything against the 6th worst defense in the New York Giants last week, it wouldn't be a surprise given how bad they've played the last 6-7 weeks of the season. It wouldn't be a surprise if that repeated. So if I had to choose who would win this game, I think I'm gonna go with another upset. I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay beating the Philadelphia Eagles. And unfortunately for Jason Kelsey, he may not get that second ringing one, just like his brother Travis. But who knows if he'll come back, Jason Kelsey, because he was thinking about retirement last year, or the past 2 seasons rather, but he decided to return. But we don't know if this is his last dance or if he comes back next year. But either way, I haven't liked the way Philly's been playing this back half of the season, but I've loved how Tampa Bay has been playing this back half of the season. So yeah, I'm gonna give this win to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers once again. All right, now going to the divisional round. The first game we have is the Ravens and the Browns. Okay, so these two teams met in the regular season and split the season series. The Ravens beat the Browns 28-3 in week 4, and then the Browns beat the Ravens 33-21 just weeks later, like 7-8 weeks later. So this has been neck and neck. I thought I heard something. So yeah, going to this game, as again, I've loved the way that Lamar Jackson's been playing this year. In fact, he could very well win league MVP this year, just like he did in 2019. So going to the Ravens, I'm still talking about the Ravens. So last time the Ravens were in the scenario where they were the number 1 seed in the AFC, this was 2019. They ended up getting destroyed by the Tennessee Titans. But yeah, the difference between that year and this year is that in that year, 2019, Lamar Jackson won league MVP just by using his legs, even though he threw like 36 touchdown passes that year. But this year, with the new offense, he's been relying on his arms more than his legs. So that's been good. And yeah, like I said, the Browns defense has looked really good this year. And yeah, as again, it's been a great story for Joe Flacco, but I have a feeling this could come to an end this year because, even though they split the season series, Baltimore was still able to score at least 28 points each time against Cleveland. And Lamar Jackson has been facing a lot of criticism about him not being quarterbacky enough, which I don't know if I should get into that right now, but anyways, it's been a great story for Joe Flacco, but I'm afraid this will probably have to come to an end as Lamar Jackson, for the first time in his career, will probably advance to the AFC Championship game. Oh, and also, not to mention that Joe Flacco has thrown 8 interceptions in like 5 or 6 starts this year, so that's also a concern to look at. So the next game I'm going to go to is the Bills and the Chiefs. Oh, and going back, one more thing about the Ravens and Browns game. Yeah, the Ravens have like the 6th best defense. So yeah, that's obviously another concern, or another reason why this game may not go Cleveland's way. So the next game is the Bills and the Chiefs. This is their 3rd playoff meeting in the last 4 years. This should be a really fun one, but the only difference is between the 2020 and 2021 game is that this game will be taking place in Buffalo instead of Kansas City. So yeah, this should be a really good, really exciting game. I'll be looking forward to watching this game. So these two teams met in the regular season. Let me pull up the score. With the Bills winning 20-17. And the Bills won that game because Kadarius Toney, the receiver on the Chiefs, was offsides, and that play, which would have given the Chiefs a go-ahead touchdown, that was an incredible play by Travis Kelce, and unfortunately Taylor Swift could not stay happy about that because that wound up being called back and the Chiefs lost the game. But yeah, when these two teams, as again, like I said, this was a neck and neck game when they met. And these two teams met back in week 14. Yeah, Josh Allen had a really good. Let me pull up this game. I'm pulling up the stats right now, so give me a sec. Yeah, so even though Josh Allen he was decent in this game. He finished that game with 23 for 42, 233 yards for a touchdown and interception. So, okay, not bad, but he was still able to decimate the Chiefs, a really good Chiefs defense, a defense that loves to play man, and they like to blitz. And going to the flip side, yeah, Chiefs Chiefs offense hasn't really been sharp this year. And yeah, they're running into a Bills defense which has played really well this year under Sean McDermott. And yeah, and going to the Bills offense. The Bills offense, even though they struggled in the first half of the season, Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator now, he's done a really good job calling the plays. I feel like the reason why the Bills offense has been better is because of their run game. And that was what was able to decimate the Dallas Cowboys in like week 15, I think. So yeah, and also fun fact, this is the first time that Mahomes will be playing a road playoff game in his career. He has never done so in his career, but in the 6 seasons that in the 6 seasons that he's been a start in the NFL. But yeah, if I had to guess this game, I'm gonna have to go with the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, as again, turnovers have been an issue for not only Patrick Mahomes but for the entire offense, as with the drop balls. And yeah, and Patrick Mahomes had at least one turnover in like I don't know how many consecutive games. Yeah, I don't have time to look that up, but yeah. As again, I feel like the Bills have been on a really good run lately, and I think probably for like the first time ever, they'll finally be able to beat Kansas City in the playoffs after failing to do so the last 2 times. So yeah, as again, Buffalo will advance to the AFC Championship game. Up next, we have the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. So this should be a really good game. These two teams met in the playoffs last year with Tampa Bay winning 31-15, I think. I could be wrong, but yeah, Dallas really dealt with Tampa last year in the playoffs. And that wound up being Tom Brady's swan song game. As again, Baker Mayfield is going up against a really good Cowboys pass rush and a pretty decent Cowboys secondary. As again, the reason why I had Tampa over Philly was because how bad or how vulnerable Philly's defense has been over this back half of the season. But he's going up against a really good Cowboys defense, and it's in Jerry's world, so that'll make things a lot harder. Baker Mayfield does have playoff experience as he led the Browns to a playoff victory back in 2020. But yeah, as again, the Cowboys have had so many chances to make the NFC Championship game, but failed to do so. But in this instance, I think this is finally the big opportunity for Dallas to reach the NFC Championship game, and with that, and because of that, I'm gonna have to go with Dallas Cowboys, and for the fact that they've been really good at home this season. I think they've won like 20 or something consecutive home games. So yeah, which is pretty incredible. So yeah, as again, Dallas to the NFC Championship game. So the next game we're gonna go to is the 49ers and the Rams. So these two teams split the season series. The 49ers won back in week 2, 30-23. And then, yeah, last week when they played, they rested their starters. So, yeah, both teams rested their starters. But, yeah, still, it was... Still, both times these two teams met, it was one-possession games. And, yeah, even though the Rams offenses looked really good, they're going up against a really good 49ers defense, specifically their pass rush. Let me look at their defensive rankings. Yeah, so the 49ers had like the 8th best defense in the league, which is really good. So yeah, that's also going to be a problem for Matthew Stafford. Also for the fact that Matthew Stafford is like 36 or something years old. So yeah, he's been getting old and has not been consistent at times. But yeah, the reason why I had the Rams over the Lions is because how young the Lions defense is. But the 49ers have a lot of veterans. So yeah, and on the flip side, the Rams defense. Let me look at the Rams defensive rankings. Yeah, the Rams defense was in the bottom half of the league this year, even though they still have like Aaron Donald and stuff. But yeah, the 49ers offense has just way too much weaponry. Of course, Brock Purdy's been solid. Chris McCaffrey's a beast. They have George Kittle. They have Ayuk. They have Deebo Samuel. That's gonna be too much. That's just too much weaponry for the Rams defense. Yeah, and this is in San Francisco. So yeah, if I have to predict a winner, this will go to San Francisco. As again, the 49ers are just way more motivated. Yeah, I get the Rams won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Oh, and speaking of this matchup, this is a rematch of the NFC Championship game 2 years ago, where the 49ers could have actually made the Super Bowl had they not dropped an easy interception, which ended up costing them the game. But yeah, either way, I think the San Francisco 49ers are once again going to reach the conference championship. Now, on to the conference championship. We have the 49ers and the Cowboys. So this would be the third straight time that these teams meet in the playoffs. The 49ers won both times, and they were both and both times they came down to like one play. Of course, in 2021, Kellen Moore, the OC for the Cowboys, called a QB draw, and yeah, Dallas ended up not having enough time to spike the ball and get another play. And then last year, they ended up doing a short pass when they were deep in their own territory where they should have just gone lateral. So yeah, and that probably could explain why Kellen Moore is no longer the OC for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And these two teams actually met in the regular season this year. And yeah, in the regular season, let me go. Yeah, in the regular season, the 49ers just annihilated San Francisco. The defense just could not do anything with the 49ers weaponry. And yeah, Dak Prescott had no chance against a pretty good 49ers pass rush and secondary. So yeah, my bad. Yeah, so yeah, as again, this is the third time the 49ers have been in the conference championship game. They've lost the last two. Of course, 2021 they had a chance to make it to the Super Bowl, but too bad they missed out on it just because of a dropped interception. And then last year, Brock Purdy got hurt, and yeah, the 49ers as a team just had no chance against Philly. But yeah, this year it could be their chance. And as for Dallas, could they finally beat San Francisco? I don't know, because the defense has always kept Dak Prescott and company in check every time. So yeah, and this game is in San Francisco. So, but yeah, if I had to predict the winner, I think it's gonna go to the 49ers. Yeah, once again, with the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not really a big believer in them in the playoffs. They always tend to melt down, and yeah. And if the Cowboys were to lose to Green Bay in the wild card round, I can guarantee you that there would literally be no one going to Cowboys games next season. But yeah, I don't think that's gonna be the case. But But yeah, as again, San Francisco will make their first Super Bowl appearance since 2019, where they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah. And then this next game is the Ravens and the Bills. So this should be a really exciting game. These two teams did not meet in the regular season. But they met the year before. Buffalo won that game. When they met back in 2022, and it took them a game-winning drive to do so. If I can remember that, yeah, I think I do. Yeah, it took them a game-winning drive to do so. But yeah, that was last year. So two really good QBs who like to use their legs against two pretty good defenses. This should be a neck and neck game. Really, I predict this is going to be a really close, low scoring game, or, not a low scoring game. I think both teams will score in the 20s. Whatever the final score is, it will remain in the 20s. I predict this. You know what? I predict this game will go overtime. Ravens and Bills. Given how good both offenses and defenses have been for each team, but yeah, if I had to predict the winner, this is gonna be tough because as again, Buffalo has a lot of momentum, and they last made the AFC Championship game in the 2020 season. And as again, the Ravens haven't had a lot of, Lamar Jackson hasn't had a lot of success in the playoffs. He's only won one playoff game in his career, and that was back in 2020. And he hasn't played. And then last year when the Ravens made the playoffs, he didn't even play. And then the year before that, Lamar Jackson was injured mid-season, and then the Ravens lost out to miss the playoffs. But I think if I had to go with this, I could go Buffalo, given their momentum and the fact that they haven't made a Super Bowl appearance since they haven't been in the Super Bowl since the early 90s when they lost 4 straight. And I could go with the Ravens, given the fact that Lamar Jackson once again has faced a lot of criticism by other sports analysts about his lack of playoff success, and the fact that he hasn't won a lot of playoff games. So I'm actually gonna go with the Baltimore Ravens. Because of the latter reason. As again, Lamar Jackson. I feel like this could be the year he makes a Super Bowl. As again, he hasn't had much playoff success, and I feel like this is the year that he will be able to do so. Especially that he's been playing, especially that he's been having an MVP like season this year, which I think he's gonna win league MVP if I had to predict. And And as for the Buffalo Bills, heartbreak will once again continue. You know what? Next year I might have the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Who knows? So which leads me to Super Bowl 58. The 49ers versus the Ravens. The rematch of Super Bowl 47, which was also known as the Harbaugh Bowl or the Blackout Bowl. But this Super Bowl will be a lot different because obviously the Super Bowl the Super Bowl 47 when both these teams were in, that was 11 years ago. So a lot has changed. The rosters are obviously different now. The one thing that's intact is John Harbaugh, who's still coaching the Ravens. That's basically the only thing that's related to Super Bowl 47. John Harbaugh coaching the Ravens. Speaking of Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh just won a national championship with Michigan, but that's not the focus for today. So this should be a really fun matchup. Oh, and fun fact, I think this is gonna be like the fourth straight time that both teams' main colors are in the Super Bowl logo. Last year it was red and green, or aqua green or whatever. That was the logo for last year's Super Bowl. This year, the Super Bowl colors are red and purple. And and the two teams that are in the Super Bowl right now, their colors are red and purple. So yeah, that's also another reason why I took Baltimore over Buffalo. So yeah, this should be a really fun matchup. These two teams actually met on Christmas Day, the f- where the um where the Ravens just plummeted San Francisco. Brock Purdy had a rough game. He threw 4 interceptions, and I think he got hurt late in the game. Lamar Jackson had like 4 touchdowns that game, I think. Well, let me look. Let me see the stats for that game against San Francisco. I have my computer right next to me. Um, so yeah, Lamar Jackson actually had 2 touchdowns that game, 2 passing touchdowns that game. He apparently did not have a rushing touchdown. Rushing touchdown. So yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah. Obviously that was on Christmas Day, so that was different. But this is a Super Bowl, man. But yeah. As again, I think Brock Purdy's gonna learn from his mistakes from that Christmas game. Yeah, as good as the Ravens defense has been this year, let me look at the Ravens defense again. Yeah, as good as the Ravens defense has been this year, even though they're technically better than the 49ers, just 2 spots ahead. Ravens have the 6th best defense and the 49ers have the 8th best defense, but that won't really matter in this game. I expect this game to be close, maybe high scoring like last year's Super Bowl. And speaking of last year's Super Bowl, or this year's Super Bowl rather, this is once again the battle of 2 number 1 seeds, which I'll go for again this year. I expect this game to be close. Oh yeah, and in that Christmas Day game, the 49ers were able to contain Lamar Jackson like early in the game. Of course, I feel like the reason why the Ravens won that game was their defense, because they were able to make plays to give the offense more opportunities. So yeah, but yeah, I think the 49ers defense will game plan around Lamar Jackson differently. In fact, it's gonna be hard to like really go off against the same team. Because yeah, as again, the offensive or defensive coordinators will game plan around the opposing team differently than they did than the first time these two teams met. But yeah, if I had to guess, I think I'm gonna go San Francisco 49ers to win Super Bowl 58. And I predict, yeah, as again, I predict the 49ers to win the Super Bowl because yeah, the 49ers had a chance to win Super Bowl 54, but they blew a 10-point lead with like less than 5 minutes to go. The last time they were in the Super Bowl, and yeah, which eventually gave Kansas City the victory. That would give Patrick Mahomes his first of his 2 rings right now. So yeah, and as for the Baltimore Ravens, this is a learning experience. As again, Lamar Jackson's never been in the Super Bowl, so yeah, this will be a life lesson game for him. But yeah, hey, there's always next year. But yeah, for now, I think even after everything the 49ers have gone through, from losing Super Bowl 54 to missing the playoffs in a injury-plagued 2020 season, to missing out on a chance to return to the Super Bowl in 2021 thanks to a dropped interception, and then missing it out again last year because Brock Purdy got hurt and they just couldn't stand a chance. I think this is the year the 49ers proved themselves worthy, and I expect this to be a closer game than it was on Christmas night. And if I had to guess the MVP of this game, it's going to be Run CMC. As again, he was in the top for league MVP, but given that Lamar Jackson's in that topic already, I think Christian McCaffrey will win Super Bowl MVP. Not only that, but will win Offensive Player of the Year for sure. But yeah, these are all my predictions. Thank you guys so much for watching. If let me know your thoughts on my bracket, and yeah, as again, in regards to my videos, I think I'm only gonna do playoff predictions, because yeah, I'm not really into, I hate to say this, but unfortunately I am no longer into streaming Apex and Fortnite. I am well over those games, especially Fortnite, because I've played that game for too long and it's just gone boring. Apex was fun, but yeah, I've been used to not playing it already, and yeah, because of college, and yeah, and even if I wanted to go back to Apex, I wouldn't be able to stream this on YouTube anyways. So yeah. The next time I'll post a video is when I do March Madness, which is in like 2 months. So yeah, I think from moving forward, I'm only gonna do like prediction videos for the Super Bowl and March Madness. But hey, maybe someday I'll return to Apex, Fortnite, or another game. Who knows? But yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later. Uh, oh, and this is the bracket down here that I made. I didn't even realize that till now. So yeah, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your predictions. And I will see you guys later. Peace.